I'd like to say a few words first before I go on. Father?
Well, thank you all for coming, and Peter Petrino is the third Grand Night since the council was formed. Peter Samarco, and then Joe Healy, and now Peter. I'm sure the bishop will be very happy to see how the Knights have grown and progressed, and in all their different endeavors, they've learned by one way or another how hard work pays off. They knew that before, but the good work that they do in giving support to the school, to other charities, they do a good deal of work, not just here, but all over, and we're grateful for that. As I mentioned at Mass, Luke Hanna II, 90 years old? 91. He became a member here a few months ago, last month. I was hoping he might be able to make it today, but he wasn't able to. But really, the Knights of our parish, we expect a lot of you because you are an arm to help in the many functions that take place here. And I know the Knights have always been close to the church in many ways. Father McGivney would certainly, he's on the way to becoming a saint, but he certainly thought of providing for widows back then, originally, but the work of the Knights has really expanded in so many ways, So, as I mentioned, this would have been Bishop's 50th anniversary of ordination, and I'm sure he is looking down on all of us, blessing us and inspiring us and encouraging us to keep up the good work. This was really a nice turnout, and I see some of the bishop's friends are here, who are not from the parish, but who came back for this occasion. It's wonderful. Okay, Peter. That's good. Oh, short. No.
Too much wine. You want to say anything? No, absolutely not. Again, my father was mentioning, could be, I know Frank mentioned, I didn't even plan it that way, that this happens to be the week 50 years ago that the bishop actually said his first mass, and St. Rita's was his first ministry. I didn't remember him telling me that, but that is amazing. It's funny, a year ago, we were here, I think it was early June, when we actually did the renaming of the street. I know a lot of people were here for that, but here we are again, and that's our old charter, that's on the wall, and that's our old banner, which we're going to present to all the audience in a little while. But I wanted to thank, especially to make it today, this was almost a 2.5-year process. I mean, dealing with the Supreme Council, it's not easy to change the name or add a name. And the other thing is, we're going to change the name. You got to deal with the Supreme Council, which is in New Haven, Connecticut. They're like dealing with the IRS. They are. They got locked in whatever it is. They know it's hard to deal with them. Everything takes time. It's like dealing with the government, so to speak. When we first started planning this, we needed a letter from Bishop DiMarzio, which we got. We needed a letter from our council saying we all approved of it and voted on it. Steve was here. Steve, remember I came by your house late at night. You had to sign it. I had to sign it. You didn't even know the lights out. That's all right, Steve. No, we had to have that letter, and it took a while, and there was complications because it had to go to the state deputy first. He had to approve of it, which he usually does, and then the paperwork got lost. We were at the bottom of the list. The Supreme only meets like 4 times a year. And then we finally got a letter in October saying that it was approved, that it was going to get approved when the Supreme met in February. So as of March 1st, we did get the letter saying that we were approved. It has to be approved by them to get our new charter, which we have right behind the veil. But I wanted to thank for helping me out. I know he's not here, but we're away. New York State Deputy, State Advocate, Frank Bagley. Right, he's our State Advocate. Frank Bagley helped initiate and helped actually expedite this to go quicker. And our Queens District Deputy also was in here, Ralph Cepolo. Ralph also helped. you know, because I needed a lot of help with this one to get this expedited quick, that we get this done this year. And I want to thank all the other knights who helped out with this too. Other people who couldn't be here, as we said, Luke Second couldn't make it today. He's at the Yankee game. He couldn't be here today. Yes, he did become a knight. So we have a Hall of Fame basketball coach. He's actually a knight from the council now. And he's also a Christian. Next we got to get Chris Moe. Well, even Mike Piazza. If he wants to come up there, we'll get him as a knight one of these days. The person who couldn't be here, Bishop's brother, Deacon Joe, is out of town. He tried to make it, but they had a family graduation, but he sent his blessings. And also, from St. A's Parish in Brooklyn, Pastor Monsignor Casada, if anybody knows that.
Yes.
I know Monsignor Casada couldn't make it. He was going to try to come, but he called me, he says, Pete, I can't make it. I know it was kind of last minute for him, so he sent his blessings too. And of course, the great support from our chaplain and Pastor Father Canary, who couldn't be a better pastor or chaplain. I think everybody feels the same way. And so much has gotten done with this parish since Father's been here. Speak a little about the bishop. I joined this parish in 2008. That's when I first joined the Knights. I'm not a charter member, but that's okay. I met him, I think it was July 2008 when we had our first car show. You weren't here yet. And I remember I had seen him say Mass. My wife had him as a teacher in St. John's University. I know he was only a priest back then before he had become bishop. But I had heard about him, and his masses were just phenomenal. I know everybody could agree with that. I remember talking to him at the car show. He's telling me, you're too young to remember these cars. Your father would probably remember them. I said, yeah. So when he asked me, where did you grow up? And I told him I grew up in some hillbilly town called Dyker Heights, Brooklyn. I know it really well. So he grew up in Williamsburg. He came from a Sicilian background like I did, you know. And from there, we actually started a friendship. He knew my name. He asked my name. He never forgot it. And he always made sure, though, he always says, I knew I didn't like something about you. When he found out I was a Yankee fan, big Yankee fan, he says, I knew there was something. But we used to go, sometimes I used to watch the games with him, Yankee and the Met games in the rectory. Then he had gotten ill, and then I had went into a lot of his appointments. My cousin was his neurosurgeon. He did surgery on the bishop. And going back and forth to the doctors with Joe and a couple other people. I don't know, Frank, if you had come. No. Some of the other guys had come with us. And we developed a close friendship. And I thought it would only be appropriate, because when he was still here, and I remember we were talking about, we should name the council after you. He says, don't name me, you know how humble he was. Wait till I get to the kingdom. That was his famous line. When he said heaven, then you can do what you want, not while I'm here. So when he passed away 3 years ago, we started the process right away. And like I said, he's been a great inspiration. Funny you mentioned, Father, too, that I liked your homily about the Wizard of Oz. He actually was my Wizard of Oz. When I first met him, I was down and out with a lot of things. My job, people I knew, a lot of things. He gave me a great pep talk that got me going. And I know one of the things he had actually summoned me to his room. And Eileen, you can attest to that. Remember, you used to call me and tell me, I want to see you. It's like, hey, tell me on the phone. No, you have to come down. And he'd go, where's Petrino? Is he here yet? He'd always be looking for me, and I'd go down there. But I know he had said only a few days before he passed away, I don't know if you were there that night, he told me, I hope you become Grand Knight of this council. I said, that's if they vote me in. He said, they'll vote you in, don't worry about it. And they did, only a few months after he passed away. He passed away March 11, 2013. I know the voting actually became Grand Knight in June. So that happened. Things started to work out even better. And I know he had told me, I know what you have to do, because I had told him a lot of people, you have to get a lot of these negative people out of your life, and you'll achieve. Don't hate them, just get them out of your life, and I did. That goes for family and friends. And I'll just tell you guys straight out, I did.
But I always
and things started to work out for me. Being Grand Knight, right after he passed away, I wanted to diet. I lost 40 pounds. I never did that. You know how hard that is for an Italian guy? One shot, yeah, I gained like 20 pounds. Those all the dinners I go to. And things got better with my job. Last year I was appointed as the president of the union. 2 weeks ago I was voted in again for 3 years as president of the union. I know I got a blessing from up above to do all this, because before I met him, I don't think that would have happened. But he gave me a pep talk, which was great. So basically, he was my Wizard of Oz. So if you want to look at it that way, so it was appropriate. But anyway, I just wanted to thank everybody again for coming out. We have there a Mike Piazza gift basket. You guys want to try to win that, all right? I thought it was appropriate because, first of all, Mike Piazza was a good friend of the bishops, if everybody knows. He actually married Mike Piazza and baptized his kids. I don't know if everybody knew that. And he also, Mike Piazza's going to the Hall of Fame this year. And he was a chaplain. Well, actually, he met Mike Piazza because he was a chaplain for the New York Mets.
Pete,
That's how we got this.
tell the story what you said at the first dinner. Pete has done a memorial dinner for Iggy out at Immaculate Conception Seminary. The first year you read the quote from The Long Shot,
Oh, yes.
where Mike Piazza, who's now a Hall of Famer, said that the best coach he ever had. Remember you read that passage? in the
Yeah,
book?
I forgot what the passage says, but
when you said about what he did to you in your life, he did that for me as
Yes.
well, and he did that to so many other people that I know. He did it to priests, you know, where he would inspire people, get them to be feeling good about themselves and how they could be better as a person, you know. And when you read that quote from Mike Piazza, I want to get the book, because
Well-
you actually read the quote, and it was more of a typical comment that someone who was touched by you would say, that basically he said it wasn't the coaches that were paid much money, who were retired greats in baseball, it wasn't his family, it was Bishop Ignatius Catanello who gave him the best coaching of his life, and he never played baseball. So, you know, that was a beautiful tribute to what supports what Peter just said, because I'm proof of it. I was telling Ed Wilson, the publisher from the tablet, that I had the honor and privilege of being the first one to ever interface with Iggy. I was a boy, I said my age, 10. He said, how old were you then? I said, 10 3/4. I was 11 in September. When you're 10, a year is a long time. And I carried Iggy's bags into St. Rita's, and I got to see him become bishop. When I moved him from St. Rita's to St. Helens, he met Bishop now Bishop Barbarito, but then Father Barbarito, and they both were ordained bishops together the same day in 1994. And just the sense of history that I shared with him, and I got to see him do all these wonderful things. And I can tell you, he called on Eileen to support it, but I was with him every day when he was passing, and I saw what Eileen did for him, but it was always get Petrino on the phone. And I then found out who Peter was, and you know, the first time I got to meet Peter, he explained to me that his cousin was the neurosurgeon. I said, you don't really care about the neurosurgeon, he cares about you. You know, and I mean that in the most positive way possible.
well, getting to that, my cousin, right in between, well, literally only it was actually right before Sandy, and the bishop was actually really ill at this time. It was a few months, well, it was like 6 months before he passed away, but I remember, Frank, he wanted my cousin to come. My cousin was supposed to go see him, and I was supposed to go with him to see the bishop. My cousin's brother, who was a doctor, who was my cousin, died tragically that week. And I know the bishop kept he was summoning my cousin to come see him with me. And I remember I had to call the bishop and tell the bishop, my cousin's not answering the phone, his brother passed away in a tragic accident. The bishop didn't know that. And he says, tell your cousin to call me. He said, I told you. He said, no, I need to talk to him. Not about me, about him. And he helped my cousin, who was a neurosurgeon, get through the loss of his brother. And he put his stillness on the side. And my cousin never forgot, because he was actually here the day of the funeral. As a matter of fact, Joe Catanello gave him a picture of when the bishop was at the Vatican, just as a token of his appreciation. But, I mean, he even helped him out when he really needed the help to get through that. So all those things. So in the book, and I have the book actually is in the basket. All right, there's a little passage about, yeah, it's in there, along with an 8 by 10 and by 10. There is a passage about the bishop and what he did to Mike Piazza. It's only on a page and a half, but he did speak about it in that book. All right, so he did. So, you guys want to play it? You know, there's a gift card in there. That's all donated from me. But anyway, I also wanted, because between the cost of everything today, I had the framing, this frame and all, I wanted to donate $100 to our council from my personal account to actually defray the cost of some of the things that actually we spent today for.
Dave, Eileen wants to say something, because you mentioned her, and everyone here should know that Eileen was, and Peter can witness this, my wife was there.
Eileen, you want to speak?
Eileen offered such comfort to the bishop that she wanted to say something about it.
No, I just wanted to say to you, which I keep it in my mind, you know, when we used to have to bring things at night, things that he needed. And he said, don't be trying to do all of this. Peter's a cool guy, just ask him. And I just thought that was so cute, you know. I mean, it's just, you know, just a cute little.
It kind of makes me think, of that Thursday before he passed away. He passed away on a Monday. All right. He wanted to see me. He was probably in the room with them. And I had just gotten home from a long day of work, and I'm like, I know he's the type of guy, he liked FaceTime. He didn't like to talk on the phone, because I said, you couldn't tell me this over the phone? Because I wanted to see you in person. Some of the things he had to say were just simple. But he wanted to see me, and I was about to actually that night call up and tell him I can't make it. But I did go that night.
I remember
And that was
that
his
night.
way of saying goodbye, because he knew it was coming. That's when he asked me about actually becoming Grand Knight. He said, I want you to try. And Joe had suggested it at the time. But I says, all right, you know what, now it's coming from his, I'll try it. You know, if they vote me in, they vote me in, and they did. Probably from right above. And if you remember, only a couple of days after he passed away, we had a new pope.
Yes.
They elected him only like 2 days after.
Yeah.
So he had something to do with that. But,
How many times did you come in at 11 o'clock, 11:15 from work? He'd be in the city and say, I can't come in.
I remember bringing my children in there when my children were actually getting to the point they're teenagers now. And I didn't know how to speak, I didn't know how to talk to them. And he was sick, and he says, bring him here. No, you don't feel good today, he says, bring him here anyway. And he did speak to them.
Yeah.
Because that meant a lot to me, all these things that he did just meant so much to me.
You know, Peter, just to say it, and Kevin, last half said to me, Eileen wants to speak, but there was one thing that came to me, because as we go back and forth, the bishop worked as a bishop to the last day of his life. And I came to him with a very special request. I have a family friend whose brother was in need of a letter of, I would call it reconciliation with the United States government. You mentioned the government before. And I read the letter to him, and he said, definitely. And he could hardly sign his name, but he made the sign of the crucifix, which was clear as day. And I said, Eileen, do you see how he came and he became so enthused at helping and getting another opportunity to save someone? It was such an inspiring moment that I went out in the hallway. I'm really, Eileen, I almost broke down, because it was better than any medical treatment he had that day. The fact that he could still reach out.
It was important.
Yeah. And I didn't think attest to that. But I know how proud personally he would be to have this council named after him. And I can tell you, Holy Family was his love. He taught at St. John's when he first came here. He used this as basically space before he got attached to the parish. And then if he stepped foot in some place, it became his world. So I know Holy Family was a very special place to him. And to get his name on the Knights of Council, especially after he wanted it organized. It's a very fitting tribute. That's why I'm here. And my wife sitting next to me. We were married by him, and our anniversary came up to the exact Saturday, 33 years ago, May 14th, and we went to the church and we did a reenactment with my 3 daughters. But I say how fast the time went, and it was a beautiful experience that I had knowing Bishop and all the lives that he touched, because I was his long-distance driver, and I got a good opportunity, and I will say this, I would always, and you could put this in there, I wanted to get to the point where it'd be folksy. I had a hot foot. You would say, go ahead, Dave, make the road. We were pulled over the minimum 15 times in 4 different states. And every time I'd say to the trooper, I'm driving Bishop Catanello, and he would say, don't kill the bishop, or go ahead, or whatever. But, one time I had a Jewish trooper, so I said, he just got the He was the most respectful one of all, but, you know, you look back and you say to yourself how blessed I was to get to know him from day one, to watch him go through the chairs. And I did have trouble understanding some of the positions of the Catholic Church. I was running for district leader, and I'm doing it door to door, and someone says, you know Monsignor Catanello? I said, yes. And he became an Episcopal vicar. So I tried to be like a poker player and not show my hand. And I called up my father, very upset. Before I go in, I said, Iggy, jump ship. Episcopal vicar. And my father said, that's a big promotion. I thought he fled. But that was one of the highlights. Where, you know, I watched him go through different positions. And I was a retired school teacher principal, and Iggy loved teaching. And one of the things he took pride in was being the principal of Cathedral Prep High School. So he had a very interesting career and priestly duty that he served, you know, and that was one of his favorites.
Well, funny you mentioned that. I know some people know that we do. The bishop, since he was a principal also at Cathedral Prep, he has a scholarship there. It's called the Bishop Ignatius Catanello Scholarship. So we have a dinner every year, Frank's. I guess you come. I didn't know if you were coming to that, but everybody's more than welcome to come. I think next year, I think the date is Saturday, March 12th. This will be our 4th year of doing it next year. So you know, I know you guys have been there. So if we actually, whatever money we make from this council, after expenses, we just put it towards a scholarship. This year, we made $1,700 just on the dinner, and then there was another like $400 in private donations that went to the scholarship fund. I just got that letter the other day thanking us. Cathedral Prep, so, you know, but he does have a scholarship. One other quick story. You had I'm sorry, Paul, you wanted to say something?
Well, I grew up in Brooklyn, and my grandparents were St. Rita's Church.
Yeah.
And I got to know him when he was, after he was ordained, and he says, you know, they got to get me out of the cellar here. It was a basement church. And what happened was, when I came to St. John's, I went to this church in the tent in 1941. When we moved here in 41, my dad built the house, and we invited the bishop to come over and have dinner with us. And he came, and he said, you know, they asked me to start teaching at St. John's. I said, well, I'm going to be going to St. John's. I'll talk to the people there. And he was so happy. He says, you know, my real love is to be close to St. John's, but Holy Family's right down the block. He says, maybe I'll get a residence there. And it worked out with the will of God that he came here. It was like his coming to fruition. And then 14 years he taught at St. John, and I was one of his students. I think you said you were one of his students?
Yeah.
And he was so humble. And after class, he said, let's take a little walk around the 100 acres. You know, that used to be a golf course.
Right.
I caddied there. I didn't get credit for that. But he would walk around with a group of students, and if they had any problems, he was having like outdoor confessions, you know, one-on-one. But with the St. Joseph's Day, Joe Sciammi is the national president of the Sons of Italy. We always had St. Joseph's Day, and also here, Giuseppe, right? And he always, for 14 straight years, did the invocation. 14 years he would be there, and he'd share pasta with us. But when he came here, this was the pyramid of his life. He felt so at home, and the parishioners here all got together, and we worshiped all together. I think he was more an inspiration to you and others, but he was so humble. And we used to call him Iggy. He loved that. But how old is your friend?
Well, Anthony, did you want to say something? I know Anthony, you were married by the bishop and your
He's
children.
godfather to both my boys. I've known him since I'm 11 years old. Pick him up at the store 4 times a month for dinner. I mean, I don't know what to say. I know him for many years. He was probably my best friend on the planet. Some people in the room might not know that, but you know that. Eileen knows that.
You know something.
The last
I
time
gotta
I
finish.
know, listen, it's emotional because the last time I cried when somebody passed away was him, before my grandmother and my father. I'll never forget the day I got the phone call, which was March 11th, 2013. We had just had our St. Patty's Day party that weekend, and the rectory, it was about 11 o'clock, kept calling me over and over again, and Angela was our secretary at the time, and they just kept calling, not leaving a message. I figured they must be mad at me. We must have forgot to do something, to clean something up, and they're gonna yell at me. And I'm in a meeting, I'm saying to myself, they called like 4 or 5 times, no message. Finally, I got a phone call from one of the Knight's sons. So I says, who actually was our DJ? It was Peter Cesare. So I said, let me pick up the phone here. I says, this is getting to be monotonous. Now I have one of the Knight sons calling me. 5 missed calls from the rectory, something's up. So he gets me on the phone, he says, where are you? I says, I'm at work. I was at a project in the Empire State Building. He says, maybe you should sit down when I tell you this. And I'm like, what are you gonna tell me? What happened? And he said, the bishop passed away. And at first it didn't register. Who? The bishop? Who? What bishop? I think Bishop Catanello. I burst out crying. I'll never forget. On a construction site. A few days later, when the carpenters were there telling me, that had to be the first time I ever saw a Brooklyn Guido cry. I swear to God, that's what he told me. I said, well, I had just lost some, they knew somebody had died that it was close to, and I had said to the bishop, he's a personal friend of mine. But it was amazing, a couple of days later, I'm on the same site, and I'm walking through the halls, all right? And I know, Joe, you'll understand that when they have the stringers of temporary lights down the halls, as I'm walking, bulbs are breaking. And I'm walking through and I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I don't know what causes that, Joe. Maybe you can tell me. I'm not an electrician, but the bulbs were just popping. There was a surge, and I'm walking through and what is going on? I had a feeling it was probably the bishop telling me, hey, bud, you better get your ass in church. Because I'm not here doesn't mean that you don't go to mass no more.
He put me on the carpet when I moved out to Long Island. He says, do you know your parish name? And of course I came up with the right parish name. I would ask. If I didn't, there was a problem. But I remember him calling me up one day and he said, I got a special treat. I says, yeah, I say mass in Shea Stadium. And that happened on accident because he filled in for someone.
Yeah.
And then he just like took over every Sunday.
Yeah.
And the boys at that point were playing baseball and we stood in a little, right next to where they dressed.
Yeah.
And Mike Piazza came in, they all took pictures with the boys and just made their whole day. And that happened a lot. We used to go in, we used to bring us in to see Mike Piazza and, 8-year-old boys to meet Mike Piazza. What better gift can you give 2 little boys playing baseball?
Well,
And they got it from him.
The Mets, yeah.
What's that?
The Yankees were playing the Mets that day, right? So I was so excited for the boys because we were behind when they were all walking in with their duffel bags. We were going in the back entrance with the bishop and he had carte blanche to whatever he wanted. So they said, stay in this room, and they had all like hats and everything, and they told the boys, take what you want. They were like in the candy store. It was unbelievable for them.
I know.
And me, so excited for them, I wanted to get all the signatures I could. I ran out of the little room, and the security said, just stay in here. But I, of course, had to run out of the little room and watch all the Yankees walk in to see if I can get signatures. And all I heard was the security going, there's a lady. There's a lady in the halls. I was trying to get all the signatures for them, of both teams.
Well, Mike used to come here.
Yeah.
Many times people say there's a guy in the parking lot, it's like Mike Piazza. I go, that is Mike Piazza probably. He's coming to visit the bishop. So, you know, he used to be great. I remember when he used to tell me the stories when, I know he used to go, I don't know, did he come in there with your restaurant one night?
Yes, yeah.
All right, I don't know if it was your restaurant or in probably Parkside, wherever he liked to go.
He loved the
People used to
Parkside
come
in my
over
place.
to Mike Piazza and get signatures. The
Konos.
bishop used to sit there and he used to go, I'm gonna help you get into heaven. He's not. Nobody asked me for my autograph, and he was like, I didn't care. We couldn't even eat peace. And Mike Piazza used to tell the bishop, I don't care as long as I'm with you.
He gave us the picture of him throwing the ball out at Shea Stadium.
Oh, really?
He threw the
That's great.
first pitch out, yeah.
Yeah, I got the picture.
That's great. I got to see. Anybody else have anything to say about the bishop?
Yeah, I just want to mention about the scholarship. It was mentioned that up until the last days,